Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 258, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. We're going to talk client plays we are doing for the next 2 weeks. We had our first free client plays for everybody last week. Went 2-2 on the plays. Not too happy there. Dhiego Ferreira, garbage showing there. Molly McCant, also garbage there too. Really disappointed though in Ferreira. I just thought he really was going to have a lot to bring to the table against Dariush. And then the other side, we did have Volkov. Did go out there, got the job done. As we talked about, he was going to go on the show that, Overeem has this awkward kind of turtling up he does a lot, and Volkov really took advantage of that, went up there, teed off, got the victory. And as well as the other one we did have was Pantoja, went up there and got the victory as well. So kind of made it up there, 2-2 on the night, not happy, want to go out there and be cashing tickets, having profitable nights. So there you have it there. We will talk client play here. One of them will be on the main event. It will be a prop that I will be talking about in the main event. And also I did have a second client play that I was going to be talking about. Problem there is that just got canceled, just found out. That is always just really fucking frustrating, if you ask me. I mean, I spent time, even on the plane to Vegas, I spent time really kind of diving into this one, was really like the side. I actually did like Jimmy Rivera in this spot, minus around 145. If you do want to see what I did think about that whole fight overall, I'm going to have it link below with WagerTalk.com. Again, this is going to be a free package for clients. Take a look. All of them are going to be free. We'll talk, again, main event on here, and we'll have other plays I will be adding onto that card. So definitely take a look. Free. And so that's that. But as I was just stating, I am back from Las Vegas. Had a fantastic time out there from Thursday all the way to Monday. I gotta say, by about, after Thursday and, I'm sorry, actually really after Friday and Saturday, I gotta say the people I was with were pretty drained at that point. It was a lot going on. Did a lot of fun stuff. Had a private party up in my suite there. Really a great time using the jacuzzi, going out all out. It was really a great time, but hit up the Bellagio. Actually went down to Circa. Really impressed with Circa. Thought it was, I heard some great things, but really impressed by what they were doing down there. Really nice spot overall. And again, I stayed at Venetian, so it was a great time. And like they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I got to be going back there really soon. And I know some people out there are going to be looking to come to the East Coast. So it's going to be a great time overall, but I'm excited to be back and looking at another card here. Big card coming up, title fight. Let's dive into that right away. I think enough of this conversation now. Let's dive into it. So the first client play that we will be talking about is on the main event between Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. Now you've got the current line here. You've got Usman is around a minus 290, and you've got Burns is now around the plus 225 range. And as we always do, we're going to go down 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So the first one we're going to be talking about is the current champion, Kamaru Usman. 3 fights ago, he went out there and he fought Tyron Woodley. Now, this was a fight here where, people were starting to question Woodley. Is he still who he is? Does he have that ability? And all these things were kind of going to it. And this was a spot where really Usman ragdolled Woodley from beginning to end. Does he have the good takedown defense? That was the big thing. Does Woodley have that? And Usman just out-grappled, out-muscled, all around just out-wrestled him completely from beginning to end. You go in the scorecards, in a 5-round fight, it was 50-44, 50-44, 50-45. Just a dominant showing. There was really nothing that even, it just looked like really he was drained. Woodley from the very beginning, he was tired, exhausted, could do nothing off of his back, brought really no ability to kind of getting back up, and really that animal that we've used to see. So this was a spot here where it was Usman from beginning to end. He goes out there and gets the decision victory. 2 fights ago, he fought Colby Covington. This was the bad blood of the bad blood. Both of these guys, obviously hated each other. And this was a situation where we've got 2 guys who are really known for high-level cardio, really known for high-level output, and wrestling. And they really stylistically matched up in a situation here where they both are very good at a lot of the same things. But this was one here where I thought the interesting part was really Covington took it to Usman early. I mean, both of these guys kind of stood at the center of the cage and just started firing. And a situation like this, a lot of times, you can see where a wrestler wrestler versus wrestler, sometimes vilify each other. And then they just kind of, it turns into a kickboxing match. And you've seen that in a lot of other situations here. This was one here that was no different. Really, it looked at as in, neither guy really looked level change. They weren't even looking to really just tie up, get in the clinch. It was just a full-out kickboxing, more of a boxing match, because neither guy really throws too many kicks, but really a predominantly striking matchup. And early, it was Covington. Covington really brought it to him. I thought they both kind of, they both had some moments where both of them kind of got clipped and kept moving forward, but early first 2 rounds, I really thought Covington would really bring it to him, bring it to Usman overall, and I think a lot of that had to do also, and both sides could say this, that it was just too much excitement. They were too hyped. They both just wanted to go out there and knock the other guy out, where both these guys aren't really knockout artists. So, they both went out there and left themselves exposed. But going into that third and that fourth round is really where Usman started to kind of get together a little bit, kind of utilizing more of his, strategy than it is just a brawl. And that's not, Covington is fine, I think, with kind of getting in tight, doing that kind of thing. We've got Usman who wants to kind of smother, wrestle, control you up against the cage. Going into that fourth round is really where you start to see the tick down from Covington. And I think, again, no one has been able to match Covington's output. I mean, no one has been able to go out there and just go toe-to-toe with him and just keep the volume. And again, with Usman, the same thing. Usman will throw in the level changes, kind of tire you out a little bit, be on top. He does get a lot of, people kind of knock him because of that, because he wrestles and kind of lays on you, and he still causes damage. But, you see Covington, who does get on you, but allows his opponent back up, takes him back down, beats him up a little bit, allows him back up, takes him back down, almost to the point of just another way of draining his opponent. But in that fifth round, Covington really looked to be on the outs at that point. His gas tank was low. Same thing with Usman. Usman may have been behind here. It was a very close fight, but when you look at it overall, he was able to keep pushing forward, drop Covington. From there, he ended up getting on top, ground and pound, getting the finish, beating Colby Covington by fifth round knockout. And then most recently, he fought Masvidal. Now, this one here, I don't think you could take too much away into what's going to be happening on Saturday night in the title fight against Gilbert Burns. But this was one where, Masvidal, obviously, he's a kickboxer. He's a well-rounded guy. He's got a nice skill set. But this just, I think, stylistically, just did not fit well for him at all. And just the way that Usman had a clear path to victory was just really the takedowns. It was the forward pressure, the takedowns. Even when they kind of stood far apart, you would see that, Masvidal has that striking. He's definitely got that sharp striking, crisp boxing, good combinations, very versatile with the striking also. And this was one where it was just ground and pound. It was just take him down, ground and pound. Masvidal had no answer. And, you can say what you want about him, that maybe it wasn't this, spectacular knockouts or all these things, but he's very, very, planned, and he has a direct path to victory that it's almost the same thing where it comes to Khabib. Khabib in the very beginning, it wasn't this sexy thing that he was doing. He was able to kind of maul the guy, be on top of him, and now it's almost become a little bit more, I guess, acceptable, where guys are, hey, if you can't stop me doing this, I'm going to keep doing this. And that's where Usman is now. Usman says, I'm going to go out there, muscle you. He's big for the division, muscle down Masvidal for the entire fight. It was another sweeping decision victory for him. So he goes out there and gets the victory. On the other side, you've got Gilbert Burns. Now, 3 fights ago, he fought Gunnar Nelson. Now, this was a fight here that I thought was extremely interesting to go back and rewatch. And I think the biggest part of this was really where Burns was for most of this fight. And early in that first round, you've got both guys that are, high-level grapplers, and, Burns definitely has kind of really elevated his striking further, I would say, than Gunnar Nelson has. But another matchup where it's it's grappler versus grappler. That is their main discipline, and then they've got the striking that's kind of fallen on top of that. But early on, that first round, you didn't really see much coming from either guy. And I think both guys were kind of saying, who's going to go for the takedown? Is somebody going to go for the takedown? Or is this going to be a striking match? And early, it really wasn't much going on. I think Gunnar kind of started throwing a couple shots and ended up actually getting Burns up against the fence a couple times, looking for a takedown, kind of smothering him. And then into that second round was kind of the same thing early, where you had Gunnar Nelson pushing forward, had him up against the cage again. You see the big movements from Burns. Burns throws a lot of heavy shots. He's a powerful guy. He was going out there and looking for those big shots. And that was really where it opened up some opportunities for Gunnar. Gunnar didn't really look that good, at a distance. And that was where you did see Burns utilizing the leg kicks, chopping down, forcing Gunnar to kind of switch stances. His front leg was starting to get eaten up, had to kind of come up with something different, then push forward. And he ended up getting a takedown. And I think it was actually 2 takedowns that he got in that second round. But ended up, Burns kind of popped back up. He was able to kind of get back up pretty quickly. And again, his scrambling ability is there. His jiu-jitsu is there. He's got those abilities. So it was very impressive to see Burns kind of get out of those situations with Gunnar on top of him. But then going into the end of that second round, where it almost, I would say, looked like, Gunnar was going to get that second round. Also, I kind of gave it the first round to Gunnar, and then that second round I'm saying, this is Gunnar's round. I mean, this is Gunnar, until a big takedown from Burns. Burns got on top. Burns ended up kind of, hurting him a little bit, and that just quick turn gives him that second round. And going to that third round was very much the same again, where Gunnar kind of, I felt was dictating the pace of the fight a little bit, and then all of a sudden the takedown comes. And that third round, though, again, was extremely close going into that last 30 seconds of the fight, where Burns gets the takedown, kind of puts a stamp on it. I wouldn't say it was the greatest performance from Burns, and Gunnar, I think Gunnar's definitely a quality fighter. There's no doubt about that. But stylistically, I think this would have been one that really Burns could have put a stamp on it, beaten up Gunnar standing, that kind of thing. But in this fight here, he did go out there, did get the victory. It was 29-28, I think, on all scorecards. But unanimous decision victory for Gilbert Burns. Then 2 fights ago, he fought Demian Maia. This is kind of an odd fight here too, but a fight where you've got Demian Maia kind of pushing up Burns against the cage, trying to find that takedown. That's what Maia kind of does. He goes out there, kind of almost looks like he's going to strike, forces opponent back up against the cage, looks to level change, and then from there he's looking to kind of get you to the ground, maul you, look for submission victory, or at least keep that top control and win the round. But this was a spot here where he had 2 takedowns on Gilbert Burns kind of early in that fight, and very, the way that he's able to scramble, very impressive. He's, Gilbert Burns slides out, moves, even out the back door. He was kind of on top of him, and it almost looked like this is a bad spot for Burns to be in. And he's able to kind of get out there very comfortable. He was not, freaking out in any moment or worried. He kind of just knows, let my training, let my grappling take control. Was able to get out. And then when they were standing, it almost looked as if Demian Maia was defeated before the punch even landed, because he was in such a strong position against Burns. He had Burns down, and then he took Burns down again and up against the cage, and it was really kind of scripted the way that Maia kind of works. And once he had gotten up from that, it almost looked as if Maia's saying, what's plan B? Because if he's basically on top of him, even had his back at one point, if Maia can't do that, this is going to be a losing fight for him. And he looked very defeated before the punch landed, and they kind of threw one quick exchange. A nice hook from Burns, drops Maia, and then from there, ground and pound, fight ends very abruptly, where it looked like, hey, it's maybe Maia's got an opportunity here. He gets knocked out quickly, end of that fight. And then most recently, he also fought Tyron Woodley. This was the fight here where another fight where you just see Woodley just looks horrible. I mean, he just looks strained, was ragdolled the whole fight. I mean, early in that first round, it almost looked like the fight was going to end. I mean, he got dropped, he got beaten up. And this wasn't just he got, ragdolled to the ground the way that Usman did. This was just an absolute ass kicking. I mean, he went out there, ground and pounded him. Even standing, he made Woodley look like a chump standing. I mean, beating him up. Woodley almost looked scared in certain spots, which normally you don't really say that about a fighter. And again, it's nothing against Woodley, but it's also just kind of the way he presented himself in that fight. But he goes out there and he does get the victory over Tyron Woodley. So now with all that being said, you've got on the one side, of course, you've got Usman, elite level fighter, elite level wrestler, good, strong top control. He's able to kind of keep once he gets that top control, he's very strong. He's big for the division. He's got a lot of strength. And not only that, but a weapon that he has just been able to use is his cardio. I mean, his cardio is off the charts. It's one of the best in the UFC, I would say, up there with some of the top guys. But I would say he is one of the top guys with cardio, output. and he's able to really utilize that. Also, his jab. I think his jab is really nice. If he's able to pop that out, keep the distance, utilize some range, that's always been helping him. And then when the time comes right, he goes at there, level changes, has a very first quick step, going out there, getting the takedown, using that top control. Then you've got on the other side, you've got Burns. Now Burns, World Jiu-Jitsu champion, multiple, has got power, really elevated. He's striking over a time period where in the very beginning he just looked like kind of a madman, striking kind of wild. He still is wild in certain spots, but he's definitely become more well-rounded compared to some of his past fights. Also has that killer mentality where if the guy's hurt, he is not scared to go, balls to the wall and look for that finish. So there you have it there. But I think the big thing now, kind of the knock on both of these guys, or what it is standing. And the big part about that, and that's the big thing, is are they going to be standing? Everybody talks about the wrestler versus wrestler is always, it nullifies each other. And we've seen it, and I just talked about it, where you see, one nullifies the other one. And those kind of situations there where, who's the better striker? Now, you can look at the better striker, I would definitely say it's Burns. I think Burns has the ability. Although he's elevating, he's kind of becoming more well-rounded. He's definitely, I think, has more weapons, utilizes nice leg kicks. He's not just a boxer. He'll go out there and stand. But on the other side, I think the big part is that if they are standing, and both of them aren't really looking to shoot as much, which I'm going to touch on that in a second, but you've got the nice reach advantage for Usman. Usman has got a 6.5-inch reach advantage, and if he can pop out that jab, I think that brings a lot of difficult for Burns to really set up his offense, to really work his offense. He definitely is a little bit on the wilder side when it comes to striking, but has a ton of power behind it if he is able to land, where Usman, not a guy that's going to have a ton of power striking, but he's got the power takedowns behind that to go out there and utilize. That is the kind of weapon that he's going to utilize. It's going to be the takedowns. Now, the other part of this that I thought was very interesting when going back is where Burns ends up during fights. And I think you look at really with Gunnar Nelson, also with Damian Maia, that both of these guys, they were able to get Burns up against the cage. And in a smaller cage that we're going to have on Saturday night, and where Usman likes to be, and where he finds a lot of those big takedowns, is up against the fence, is the smothering. That's, I don't think, and again, if he's able to pop out the jab and kind of at least push Burns back, he's going to have his back up against a fence, and it's going to lead to a lot of great takedown opportunities for Usman. And I think that is a massive thing here where, Gunnar Nelson was able to do that multiple times in their fight. I mean, in the first round, right away. Second round, again, right away, was able to do it. Now, the top control compared to Gunnar Nelson, compared to Usman, I think Usman is absolutely, much better on top control, where the way he's able to kind of utilize, be heavy on top, where a lot of times Gunnar can get sloppy down there. He's looking for, some kind of creative submission, gets reversed. This is somewhere where once that Usman gets you down, of course, yes, the background that Burns has is sensational when it comes to his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but if you're gonna present those opportunities to Usman with your back up against a cage or allow that, and even the fact that Maia did it. I mean, Maia was able to get him take it down 2 times, and yes, he was able to scramble out, but there was never a point on the ground for either one of these guys, for Nelson or for Maia, where they were in trouble on the ground. Mostly, he wanted out. Burns wants out. He was able to get out. He was able to get a takedown on Nelson. I think that was in the second round. Didn't really do too much, but kept him on the ground in that kind of situation. But if this is where it kind of is, where he's okay kind of backing up a little bit, looking for the big shot, Usman's going to have a ton of success there. And I think that is a vulnerability, I think, where, again, this could be a stand-up matchup, but I think that Usman knows my path to victory is not standing striking with Gilbert Burns. It's going to be using my takedowns, utilizing that. I think the reason why it didn't happen with Colby Covington, I think it was more because they just hated each other, and they were looking to get somebody to get knocked out. I mean, the fact that, Usman is really not a knockout artist by any means. He gets wins, 17-1, but he's not a guy that gets a knockout. So for me here, I think the big part is the path to victory. I like Usman to get this victory. I think he can go out there, I think he can get the job done. The price is a little bit high here. Now, I have no problem laying a minus 200, a minus 210. I have no problem laying that when I feel it is a strong play. Now I'm fine kind of paying up there. Here, I think that the better way and kind of maximizing some odds, getting better value, is a method of victory play here. So you've got on this side here, you've got Usman, who has 12 UFC fights in his career, 9 of which came by decision, and he just recently had the knockout of Colby Covington, which really doesn't happen too often, and his first fight in the UFC was a finish. So he is not by any means a guy that's going to go out there and get the finish. So I like Gilbert Burns here. I like Kamaru Usman here to really just put a beating on Gilbert Burns over 5 rounds, pushing forward, good pace, and the fact that, Burns is not a guy that's, we've seen what he can do. He can definitely go into deeper rounds, but you've seen he can slow down. He can definitely slow down because he's got big movements. He's looking for the big shots, and a guy like Usman can just tire you out, look to drag him to deep water. I think that's where it's going to be. The early first and second round, I think first and mid, most of second round or somewhere in there, I believe is where Usman's going to say, let's see what you got. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to play, be smart, and knowing that he can actually keep pushing forward later in those rounds. So for me here, I like Kamaru Usman to win via decision. That is a plus 130. I think that is great price here for a guy that, you're not really seeing finishes, you're not really seeing submissions, and you're seeing a guy that can go out there, and when he's on the ground, and when he's got top control, he's not really hunting for the finish. He is going to go out there, he's going to beat you up. I think over 5 rounds, he's going to have plenty of time to kind of keep winning, keep chipping away the scorecards, finding opportunities to damage Burns. Burns into deep water, I think, is where the vulnerability is going to be happening. So for me here, I like Kamaru Usman as my client play at plus 130. And again, if you want to see the rest of my client plays, check the link down below. Click, it's free. It's going to be this event and the next one are completely free for everybody. The 30-day free trial for everybody is going to be ending next week, so that'll be the last one that I'll be giving out the free client plays. But there you have it there. I wish I could talk a little bit about Jimmy Rivera versus Pedro Munoz. I really wanted to kind of get into that one also, but that's not going to be happening. So that was my other client play that I would have been talking about today. But there you have it. I am back from Vegas. I am happy and I am feeling good. So definitely subscribe, like, comment, all those great things. I appreciate everybody reaching out, supporting, and again, let's make some money. This one here, I'm a little upset about that 2-2, where I really thought we'd at least pull out a 3-1. I know we lost the ones early, but I really thought by any means that we were going to go out there and we're going to be very profitable on that one. So there you have it there. Take a look, WagerTalk.com, and this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.